Imagine a world without money. How would society work? What would people strive for? It might sound like a distant dream or even a nightmare, but this thought experiment reveals a lot about human desires and ambitions. First, let's unravel why everyone isn't rich in the first place and dive into what truly defines richness when the concept of money disappears. Why isn't everyone rich? The answer to why everyone isn't rich lies in the complexities of life and human society. Money, as a measure of wealth, depends on several factors: opportunities, hard work, luck, access to resources, and systemic inequalities. Not everyone starts life on equal footing. Some are born into privilege, while others have to climb steep mountains to make ends meet. Education, connections, and even geography often decide a person's financial future. A child born into a wealthy family has better access to resources like quality education and healthcare. On the other hand, someone born into poverty might face barriers so high that even extraordinary effort can't always overcome them. But does wealth always bring happiness? Many argue that after a certain point, money is no longer the source of fulfillment. It's not just about how much money you have, but how you use it. Would being rich still mean the same if money were to disappear tomorrow? What happens if money disappears? If money ceased to exist, the dynamics of society would transform completely. The traditional concept of wealth as a monetary possession would vanish. But humans, driven by ambition and the need for survival, would still find things to struggle for. The nature of richness would shift, and people would value other traits or assets. Without money, what would define a rich person? Is it the one who possesses the most food, the most land, or the deepest knowledge? The markers of success and wealth would evolve, guided by what society collectively values in a moneyless world. Let's explore what people might strive for. Before we continue, don't forget to hit the subscribe button along with the bell icon so that you won't miss any exciting updates. Knowledge and skills as new wealth. In a world without money, knowledge and skills might become the new currency. Imagine needing a home repaired or clothes sewn. A person with expertise in carpentry or tailoring becomes invaluable. Education and the ability to apply it practically would likely define the rich in this scenario. Those who can cultivate food, solve problems, invent tools, or offer healthcare might be the ones most sought after. Rather than being tied to academic degrees, knowledge would focus on practical application and usefulness. Take ancient times, for instance. Before money, barter systems relied on the exchange of goods and services. The farmer who grew abundant crops or the blacksmith who created sturdy tools had something everyone needed. Such skills, deeply rooted in necessity, could again become society's measure of wealth. Land and resources as symbols of wealth. If there's no currency to exchange, tangible resources would undoubtedly become critical. Land, water, and minerals might turn into the primary assets people compete over. Those who control fertile lands, clean water sources, or valuable materials would wield great power. For instance, a person owning vast stretches of farmland could supply food to many, earning influence and respect. Similarly, access to water bodies or natural resources like timber and metals would confer significant richness. But what happens when people compete for these essentials? Could society devolve into chaos over access to limited resources? It's a compelling question, hinting at the potential for cooperation or conflict in such a world. Relationships as social capital. In a moneyless world, human connections and relationships might become the most valuable assets. Your network, your family, and your community would define your wealth. Think about it. When survival hinges on mutual support, people would naturally gravitate toward forming close-knit groups. Reciprocity and trust would become the new trade mechanisms. Someone with strong social ties would likely have access to more resources, assistance, and protection. A rich person might have the largest, most reliable network. This idea ties back to ancient tribal systems, where communities survived through collective efforts. No individual owned the wealth. It was the group's shared strength that ensured everyone's well-being. Creativity and innovation, a new form of richness. Wouldn't creativity flourish in a world where money no longer dictates success? Artists, inventors, and thinkers might be in charge of defining wealth. After all, ideas can inspire change, solve problems, and build futures. Consider the inventor who creates a sustainable energy source, or a teacher who introduces revolutionary ideas for farming. Such contributions could elevate individuals to respected, wealthy statuses in their communities. Richness in this sense becomes synonymous with impact. The capacity to innovate and adapt would be highly prized, ensuring those who can improve lives gain recognition and value. Creativity would not just entertain or enlighten, it would directly contribute to survival. The pursuit of happiness. Without money, would we return to the ultimate question, what makes life fulfilling? Happiness, perhaps, could become the goal everyone struggles to achieve. But how would we define happiness in such a world? For some, it might mean living in harmony with nature, free of stress and materialism. Others might pursue knowledge, relationships, or artistic expression. The struggle might shift from acquiring possessions to achieving personal growth, spiritual fulfillment, or leaving a meaningful legacy. Perhaps the richest person would be the happiest, the one who has mastered inner peace and purpose. A society driven by such aspirations could look profoundly different from what we know today. Leadership and influence. In the absence of money, leadership might emerge as a key marker of wealth. Those with the ability to guide, inspire, and unify others would naturally rise to prominence. Leadership qualities like empathy, intelligence, and charisma could become the traits everyone aspires to. Imagine a world where influence isn't bought but earned through respect and trust. The wealthy would be the ones who uplift communities, create opportunities, and resolve conflicts. Leadership in this context would be less about power and more about service. Struggles without money. The concept of struggle is inseparable from human nature. If we're not struggling for financial freedom, what would drive you? Some might focus on mastering survival skills, ensuring they can endure any challenge. Others could compete over recognition, aiming to leave a mark on the world. The absence of money doesn't erase ambition, it redirects it. Struggles might also become more collective. Instead of individual wealth accumulation, societies could strive to overcome larger problems: climate change, disease, or technological advancement. Cooperative efforts could replace personal battles for supremacy. A world without money. Utopian or dystopian? It's tempting to think of a world without money as a utopia where fairness prevails. But such a world would still have challenges. Human desires for recognition, power, and control wouldn't vanish. They'd simply take new forms. Would a moneyless world encourage more cooperation or spark new kinds of inequality? Would landowners dominate? Would communities isolate themselves? Or would global unity thrive? These questions highlight the dual nature of such a shift. The struggle might no longer revolve around currency, but around defining what we value most. Is it resources, relationships, or self-fulfillment? The answers would shape humanity's path forward. What truly matters? In a world without money, the definition of richness transforms. It's no longer about the size of your bank account, but the depth of your character, skills, and connections. Whether we struggle for survival, innovation, or happiness, the core question remains: what do we truly value? Steve Jobs, in his poignant reflection near the end of his life, touched upon this universal truth. He said, "I reached the pinnacle of success in the business world. In others' eyes, my life is an epitome of success. However, aside from work, I have little joy. In the end, wealth is just a fact of life that I am used to. Now I know that when we have accumulated sufficient wealth to live out our lives, we should pursue matters that are unrelated to wealth, should be something that is more important. Perhaps relationships, perhaps art, perhaps a dream from younger days.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you.
So, thinking about a moneyless world reveals what we often overlook in the hustle for financial freedom. Just as Jobs realized in his final days, maybe the most significant riches lie not in what we have, but in who we are, and in the meaningful moments and connections we create along the way. Now, what do you think of this? We'd love it if you shared your thoughts in the comments section. We appreciate you sticking around till the end. Like, share, and subscribe to help us grow this channel and reach more people.